Welcome into the Jazz Notes podcast. I'm Ben Anderson.
I'm Chandler Holt.
We are recording this on June 30th. We have gone through the draft lottery.
Yes.
We've gone through the pre-draft process. We've done night one of the draft, and now we're able to recap the entire draft. Get you ready for Summer League. Jazz have already started making trades. Obviously, the Collin Sexton deal yesterday. So a lot to talk about. Find us on Twitter at Ben's Hoops, at C Holt Sports. I guess I could say X. It's just going to be hard for me to break forever. Or on Blue Sky at those same situations. And, of course, read us at KSLSports.com. But we are into a fun new chapter.
Yes.
I love the draft. I like breaking down the guys. You and I were talking about this off the air. But it's fun to get back to the meat and the potatoes.
Yes.
Buying the ingredients is one thing. Now it's what does the food taste like?
We were walking through the buffet. Now we're back to our table.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Now it's time to figure out if it all works, if we made the right choices. So looking at the Utah Jazz and their roster, we'll talk a little bit about their Summer League roster, like I said. Again, I think we should walk through the Ace Bailey stuff a little bit more, and then why and what and everything with the Collin Sexton trade. And then we'll get your mailbag questions. I know a lot of people asked about Collin. We will try to, instead of answering 10 different questions about him, we'll try and address it in the first half of the podcast. And anything we do miss that the questions bring up, we will address that.
Yes.
So let's just start with the draft still, and then we'll get into Summer League, then we'll talk about Collin.
Yeah.
The further we get away from it, I was there yesterday at the press conference, the stranger it is, and I think the happier the Jazz have to be that Ace Bailey is on the roster.
Oh, absolutely.
And there was a lot of drama yesterday, or last week. I shouldn't say yesterday. There was zero drama yesterday, but late in the week. And I really do think almost all of it was national narrative, and very little of it is based in reality about Ace not wanting to be here.
Yeah. And as a journalist, I try to separate myself from the whole situation and just look at it objectively. But I could also see why Jazz fans would be super frustrated about how all of it happened, because at the end of the day, it would take a phone call or just a Twitter search even from these national outlets to see what's going on. Right after all that started stirring up about him not coming to Utah, it was the meeting's until Monday. He doesn't have to be here till Monday.
And we actually have some breaking news. Shams Charania is reporting that Jordan Clarkson is finalizing a contract buyout with the Jazz.
Wow. Live.
So JC will not be with the team anymore.
Okay.
We have to write that article up.
Yes.
Okay. Well, first reactions is this probably makes sense, right? In light of the Collin Sexton trade yesterday, there's clearly not a good market right now for guards. No. And Collin Sexton right now is a better player than Jordan Clarkson, younger, has more value, and there was clearly not a good market for Collin Sexton, which is how you got into Yusuf Nurkic. So let's start with this, and we'll talk about Collin Sexton, Jordan Clarkson, then we'll get back to the draft a little bit. So apologies for this being a little bit out of order and a little bit strange. But yeah, Jordan is now free to go sign anywhere he wants. Jazz will give him every penny of his contract, just pay him to go do whatever he wants. And he can go sign with a contender or whoever wants to pay him the most money, whatever he wants to do. He's at Paris Fashion Week right now. He's doing all of his Jordan Clarkson stuff. I will just say I love Jordan Clarkson.
Yes.
I loved the player Jordan Clarkson. I loved the person Jordan Clarkson. One of my favorite people I've ever interacted with. I get asked in our mailbag every couple of months, who's the favorite player you've ever covered? It's Jordan Clarkson. And then it's the rest. Yeah. And that the Jazz have a lot of great players to cover. I really, really enjoyed the entire Jordan Clarkson experience in Utah.
Yes.
Exciting on the court, some maddening moments on the court. I know fans were frustrated at times. He also has some of just the all-time great moments, huge shots, huge scoring outputs, 6th man of the year, easily the coolest player who's ever lived in Utah and played for the Jazz. Again, we're saying this because he's at Paris Fashion Week right now. He's always up to something. Jordan has a very, very fascinating life. He loved Utah. He said he's going to come back here when he retires and buy a motorcycle and ride up and down and go to our national parks. Jordan is authentic. He's the real deal. So I am wholeheartedly rooting for Jordan Clarkson. And I hope he gets to go play at Madison Square Garden. I've said that. I'd love to go see him play with the Lakers again, or go somewhere where you can win a title. Yeah. So really shout out to Jordan Clarkson. I think he's a top 20 player in Jazz history. Rooting for Jordan Clarkson.
And even off the court, some iconic moments as well. Did you go to a lot of Utah Jazz games? Yeah, I've been to a few.
The best. Yes. Jordan Clarkson's the best.
Yeah.
He's the best dude.
Not to say, I'm going to say this, and not to not saying that they did Collin Sexton bad in any way, but good on the Jazz to just buy him out and go where you want to, he has done so much for the franchise. I agree with everything that you said. And I agree with you. I hope that he goes to a contender, finds another home, and then I hope to see him back in Utah someday.
He will be around.
Yes.
Jordan is going to be a guy who's going to be around, and I think the Jazz should fight very hard to keep him around. And I thought it actually would have made sense to keep him, not from a playing standpoint, and this is where I'm happy for Jordan. He can go play somewhere. He just was not going to have any minutes.
Yes.
And it made sense. The Jazz, with the Collin Sexton trade, are clearly shifting towards opening up minutes for Isaiah Collier, Keontae George, Walt Clayton Jr., Bryce Sensabaugh, Cody Williams, Ace Bailey probably gets some time at the 2. They have a lot of guys. They need to clear it up to make sure that there's room there for those guys to play. And Jordan Clarkson could have been in there. He could have coached Ace Bailey and just look, man, you can have a good life and live in Utah. I'm doing it. Look at all these things you can do. But that's not Jordan Clarkson's job. You don't put him out the pasture yet. I think he still can offer something to a team.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, anyways, congrats to Jordan on an absolutely exceptional career with the Utah Jazz.
Absolutely.
One of the better players we've seen recently and a staple and the longest tenured player in the Jazz until now. And now it's got to be Lowry.
Yeah.
I would think.
Which is crazy.
Anyways, credit Jordan.
Yes.
I really, really enjoyed my time with him. So I guess a personal thank you to Jordan for I had fun talking to you.
Yeah.
Just a fun time. And he was really a part of the community and did all of his Thanksgiving giveaways and stuff like that. So, okay, so let's take that and translate it into the Collin Sexton conversation, which is what I just mentioned. Collin Sexton gets traded for Jusuf Nurkic. Jazz have to give up a second round pick. And I think it's the better of their pick or the Clippers pick or something in 2030.
Okay.
That's a terrible trade.
Oh, yeah.
This is the as low a value as you could have imagined for Collin, to the point where you're actually giving up a future asset. It's not a first.
Yeah.
It's not the Derek Favors trade, but it's a future second, and it's the better of the future seconds even. The Jazz had to keep adding on, it seems to get this deal done. And Jusuf Nurkic is not a good basketball player right now. He is a backup center, which is the most easily reproduced or found element in basketball, right?
Yeah.
The asset. You can just get those guys. Those guys are around. He's not going to help you win, which is part of the goal. But he steps in, he fills a role. He does provide a little bit of balance to the roster, right? You lose a guard, you add a center. They needed a big guy.
Yeah.
Their other backup center has been John Collins. I suspect this means John Collins is going to be gone too. The fact that Collin had this bad of a market and is a good player, has 1 year on a very affordable price at $18 million, and John Collins is in the same boat but is more expensive.
Yes.
And maybe even a little bit more hard to project exactly where John Collins fits on teams, makes me think that there's no market for him either. In fact, I'm pretty sure there's not a market for him. So we will see. Maybe after free agency, which opens today, maybe after kind of it runs its course and teams make their signings and get their players and don't get their players, maybe there'll be a secondary market for John Collins. But I think this reflects exactly what the Jazz's goal is next season, which is what we've talked about.
Yep.
We were there when Austin Ainge said we will not be tanking next year. You're not going to see the shenanigans on the court. But this is a bit of shenanigans off the court, right? You
True.
made a purposely bad trade to make your roster worse, open up playing time, which is valuable, but to make your roster worse so you lose more games next season.
After the Collin Sexton trade, I tweeted out, yes, this is a bad return for Collin Sexton. And then I also said, yes, this is a good trade for the Jazz. And not good in the sense that you got a good return on your investment. Because you've talked about, for example, you trade away Donovan and you get a group of assets and then you can use those assets to get other assets. And it's sort of the butterfly effect. This trade led to this and it just keeps on going, right? I don't think it was a good trade objectively for the Jazz, but to me it makes sense. Right?
Absolutely, of course.
With the mission of I do think the Jazz are going, like we had prefaced after Austin Ainge came in, they could either really buy in or bottom out, and I think that especially with this Jordan Clarkson buyout, they are bottoming out. And yeah, it was a complete logjam, especially with Collin Sexton and Jordan Clarkson there, and then 4 or 5 young guards. So yeah, I think overall it does make sense. It does kind of suck that that's all you can get for Collin Sexton. I would think of those 3 guys, Jordan Clarkson, John Collins, Collin Sexton would have the most value. So looking at that, it makes me wonder what can you even do with John Collins, you just said?
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't think the Jazz are done even after this Jordan Clarkson.
No, I still think John Collins is going to be on the move as well.
Yeah.
And that will take away 3 of your major veterans. That leaves Lowry, Markkanen, and your next veterans are we'll see what happens with Svi Mikhailiuk today. Johnny Juzang also got waived this morning. So you're just going to be thin. You're going to have a lot of young guys playing a lot of minutes. I think Lowry Markkanen is going to be there to space the floor and make life easier for them and carry a big offensive load and be the number one name on the scouting report every night. But I think you're seeing the Jazz fully shifting towards this youth movement.
Yes.
And here's the thing about the Collin Sexton trade that we have seen, and I think rightfully so if you want to, say the Jazz can be criticized for not initiating the full rebuild quicker.
True.
Right? They didn't fully strip it down to go after Victor Wembanyama. And then they didn't fully strip it down the next year, and look, that only yielded Zachary Rizachet. And you got Cody Williams, who we'll see if he makes the roster. I mean, he's going to be on the roster, but we'll see if he ends up being a long-term piece or not. Jury's definitely still out on that. But if you want to be critical, the Jazz didn't just fall to the bottom immediately. It was because they were unwilling to make trades like the one they just made.
Yes.
They just took a bad trade to get worse so their young guys can develop, and because their young guys are going to be on the court, they're probably going to lose games and get another high pick next year. And then you will have somebody to pair with Ace Bailey as the future of the Utah Jazz.
Yeah.
So that's what this trade was about yesterday. It's what I think the John Collins inevitable trade will be, assuming he gets moved, and what buying out Jordan Clarkson is.
Yeah, and it's like, speaking about Yusuf Nurkic too, like I think he's just going to be like Drew Eubanks last year. Like, and if there's a move to be made with him, like I said, to keep like getting your assets and moving on and getting more assets, like if he plays up and someone wants him at the trade deadline, the Jazz will probably move him.
Yeah.
So
right. So that's the big deal. I mean, there's just not more to it. It was a horrible deal, right? It was horrible value, and the Jazz had to do it to accomplish their goals.
Yes.
And I don't think there's anything fancier about it. The Jazz didn't want to take on long-term money. The Jazz didn't want to take back somebody who was going to make them better, and there was nobody offering an asset for him.
Yeah.
So they just kind of felt like their hands were tied, and I think they just said, fine, just cut ties. It's not great. It's less than great. But it does get it. Their more important goal here was to clear out room for the young players.
Yes. One thing that I do want to mention, and I think this has both, I would assume this has both been a factor and then will also be a factor with the potential John Collins move. I think that other NBA GMs know that this is what the Jazz are doing. Like even before the Collin Sexton trade, they probably assumed that they were moving on from veterans, and that just is like, you don't really have leverage in that situation.
Right.
And now that you've traded Collin Sexton for almost nothing and then bought out Jordan Clarkson, it's like certified. It's guaranteed now. Like it's like everyone knows it.
Yeah.
So like I wouldn't expect the John Collins package to be anything special either.
No, hardly at all.
Yeah.
And you look, if you wanted to wait a little bit longer and hope that he builds up his trade value throughout the season and trade him, you can, but that risks winning games.
Yes.
And I don't think they want to risk winning games. I think they want to have their young guys out there to play.
Yes.
So anyway, I think that covers the Collin thing.
Yes.
All right, let's talk quickly about the draft again.
Okay.
So the Jazz get Ace Bailey. He falls to them at 5. I think they're ridiculously happy behind the scenes.
Yeah.
Everything I have heard is the intel on Ace. The person is awesome. So I know there was concern about the draft stuff and concern about his agent and things like that. I just think the Jazz played their hand very well. I think they kept very silent on their interest in Ace Bailey. They let everyone guess that maybe they weren't interested in it. I think the Jeremiah Fears stuff was a smokescreen. I don't know if Jeremiah Fears was ever really in the conversation or if it would have been Con Knipple or if it would have been Trey Johnson had Ace Bailey gone at 3 or 4. But my understanding is he was higher than 5 on their board, and they were excited to have him.
Yeah.
So then they go out and get Walt Clayton, who they really wanted. I'm curious how early they started calling teams to get him.
True.
Portland traded back to 16 to take Hanson Yang. Did you watch his introductory video?
I did.
Portland?
I did.
Very charming.
Yes.
But it's like, oh yeah, this is a project all around. He speaks no English. It's like it's a real work in progress. So I'm rooting for him. But I'm curious how early the Jazz were in on trying to get Walter Clayton and where he was on their board, because clearly they liked him enough to trade 3 future second-round picks to move up and get him. And then in the second round, they take a guy who we did the draft show for the second round. Really was in the 30s on a lot of boards, and John Tonjian slipped. My theory is he's going to be the last player born before 9/11 ever drafted in the NBA, right? Like he's born in, I think it was like January or like July or something of 2001. He's old.
Yeah.
But he's got a very simplistic game. He's funny to watch.
Yes.
I went back and watched some games, and again, I think we got some questions about it. He's almost like the right version of Taylor Horton Tucker.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
And like he plays bigger. Taylor's a guard.
Yeah.
John Tonji's more of a wing. But his game is really simple. He is shooting threes, and if he's not shooting threes, he's throwing his huge body into you and going to the foul line. I don't know if that works in the NBA.
True.
He probably has to develop into a 3-point specialist, but that's kind of the nuts and bolts of his game. It is not very fancy. It is really analytics driven. Threes or free throws is kind of the goal.
I think we, and then also of note, RJ Lewis signed a 2-way deal with the Jazz as well. He was also like a guy who I'm pretty sure was expected to be drafted at least.
Yeah, projected to be drafted.
Yeah.
He, in fact, was the only early entrant player, meaning he could have gone back to college, pulled his name out of the draft after the combine, returned to college, and still had eligibility that kept his name in the draft and went undrafted.
Yeah.
He blew it. With all due respect to RJ Lewis, and maybe the Jazz benefit and he turns into a player.
Yeah.
But you're talking about a guy who probably could have gone back to college and had NIL deals from Kansas,
Yes.
BYU,
Yeah.
Kentucky of millions of dollars. And he has to sign a 2-way contract with the Jazz now, which is half of the rookie salary, which is like $500,000. Like, he legitimately probably cost himself $1.5 million by sticking in the NBA. And maybe he was done with it. He had an unceremonious close to his college career.
True.
He's playing for Rick Pitino, got benched his final game, had a terrible final game in the tournament, but he cost himself some bucks.
Yeah.
So he's betting on himself to make the NBA and make some money, make some of that money back, and maybe it ends up being the right gamble.
What I wanted to say, and then we can transition this. No, you're okay. And then transition to another piece of news. I wouldn't be surprised if John Tonji and Walter Clayton are like the Jazz's top performers of the new guys coming in at Summer League. Because just like they're coming in as like played a lot of games in college, have a lot of games under their belt, know what they're good at. And I'm not saying like, I'm sure Ace Bailey's going to be awesome in Summer League too.
Yes.
But it's just like, these are the NBA ready guys the Jazz are bringing in.
Yeah. Walter Clayton should be the best player.
Yes.
Now, then again, what Ace Bailey does, sorry, I'm text I need to pay attention to. It's that time of year.
Yeah.
What Ace Bailey does is specifically wired to like light up the Summer League.
True.
Like, so I did I don't know if people remember this, I did a bingo board last year for Summer League.
Yeah.
I think I will do another Summer League bingo that you can play along. And the hard part is like, I won't be here. Last year I was at Big 12 Media Day. So I was actually watching the Salt Lake Summer League games on TV. I don't think that's going to be the case this year. I don't officially know. So I won't actually hear some of the broadcasting, but Summer League bingo is just like, well, and one of them will be Ace Bailey scores 30.
Yeah.
Like he has a chance to score 30 in Summer League. Now maybe he'll just be a total fish out of water and he's so raw it's going to take a long time, but he also has that type of potential, and Summer League is primed for guys like Ace Bailey. Just be like, you can't guard me. I'm going to get a lot of shots up. I'm going to take 25 shots. I'm going to score 35 points, and I'm just here to showcase myself.
Yes.
And the Jazz are just saying, yeah, man, let loose. We're trying to figure out what we have here. So there'll be some fun things there.
Yes.
But yes, Walt Clayton should probably play very well in Summer League, as should, 24-year-old, the last millennial John Tonji.
Speaking of Summer League, the Jazz's Vegas Summer League schedule was announced. Last time we did a full podcast, the Salt Lake Summer League schedule was announced. So now we have the Vegas one, and then also the Jazz announced their Summer League roster. Quickly, I'll run through it. Ace Bailey, Walter Clayton Jr., Isaiah Collier, Kyle Filipowski, Elijah Harkless, RJ Lewis Jr., Bryce Sensabaugh, Jaden Springer, John Tonji, Cody Williams, Max Abmas, Steve Crowell, Jalen Gainey, Dane Goodwin, Cam McGriff, Selton Miguel, Jawan Roberts, and Jay-Z Zahar.
So Ace, Walt, Isaiah, Flip, Elijah Harkless, who's also on a 2-way deal. RJ Lewis, who's on the 2-way deal. We just talked about him. Bryce is only playing in Salt Lake City.
Yes.
But that was a surprise that Bryce is on the roster, but good for him. Jaden Springer, who's on the non-guaranteed contract. John Tonji, the Jazz have to figure out what they're going to do with him.
Yep.
He could sign that last 2-way deal. I kind of think that's what's going to happen.
Okay.
But I guess they could just give him a regular contract, or maybe he plays and is not good enough and they waive him. But I think they want to keep him around and give him a year. Cody Williams. That's 10 guys that have like real affiliations with the Jazz that could get minutes next year and did get minutes last year minus the rookies.
Yes.
And then guys like Max Abmas, et cetera, that you might be familiar with who played with the team last year during their Summer League. So interesting. And then, yes, they start this Saturday and just a killer lineup for the Jazz from this Saturday, which is July 5th, through the 20th, which is where Vegas will be played. And that's when the Vegas kind of what's scheduled is done, but there will still be games after the 20th. Well, I guess it's actually games after the 16th. That's the final game that's scheduled. Sorry, I know I'm being confusing. But the Jazz are going to see VJ Edgecombe for sure. The Jazz are going to see Con Knippel. The Jazz are going to see Trey Johnson. And the Jazz are going to see Dylan Harper.
Yeah.
Like, other than playing Cooper Flagg, you are getting all of the top players in the draft. So very cool for the Utah Jazz that, that's what having Ace Bailey does. Ace Bailey is going to get the Jazz national TV games next year. Like, he is a huge draw.
Yes.
He's a big name, and the NBA recognizes it. That's another reason why it's probably smart to draft him.
Yes.
All right.
We did touch on Johnny Juzang being waived today.
Yeah.
There was basically 4 players the Jazz had, and they could only pick one, I believe, or they could.
You can take 2.
You can take 2.
Actually, you can take 3 because Jordan Clarkson's been waived, so the roster spots are open. That's the other part of it. There are now 12 players under normal contracts for the Utah Jazz going forward. And I actually wrote this article up. I can pull this up for you really quick. The Jazz have 12 players under contract. They can add 3 more on regular contracts before the beginning of the season, and then you get your 3 two-way deals. And the Jazz already have 2 of those two-way deals filled with Elijah Harkless and RJ Lewis.
Yes.
So that's what that's going to look like. And then if we want to just walk down the list of players that are on traditional contracts for the Jazz next year, Kyle Filipowski, Bryce Sensabaugh, Isaiah Collier, Keontae George, Yusuf Nurkic, Walker Kessler, Cody Williams, Lauri Markkanen, John Collins, and Taylor Hendricks.
Okay.
I think that's it. Plus the rookies.
Yes.
Yeah, plus Ace Bailey and Walt Clayton.
Yeah.
So it's 12 guys now, so they'll have 3 open roster spots.
Speaking of the rookies, let's really quick, I just want to ask you this, then we can get into the mailbag. Do you have a favorite moment or notable moments from the rookie introduction presser?
The best moment is that Ace Bailey got off the plane and was supposed to go to his hotel and was like, no, I want to go practice.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. And that was like unscripted. That was not, in fact, I kind of heard that the video people that were there were not there anticipating Ace was going to be there. They were like passing through and they're like, hey, Ace is here. Why don't you get your cameras and go shoot? So some of that footage is like legitimately not clandestine, but was not planned.
Yeah.
So
that's pretty awesome.
good sign.
Yes.
Good sign, right? This is not a guy who is unhappy to be here. So, I liked it. John Tonji, the first night in Utah, he went to the X Games.
Yeah.
He's like, I'm a skateboarder. He was a skateboarder apparently. And then once he became 6'5", he couldn't do that anymore. But like, yeah, he just wanted to go see the X Games. It's like, yeah, man, you're rich now.
Yeah.
Like, you're in the NBA. You're going to make good money next year. You're probably not crazy rich, but you probably made pretty good money at Wisconsin. And then gets at least $500,000, if not more, with the Jazz this year. Like, yeah, go buy the $60 X Games ticket and have fun.
Something I liked, Ace said that when he got off the plane, he thought the mountains were fake. I thought that was pretty awesome. And then you tweeted this out. Walter Clayton goes by Walt. And then he was asked, what do you think about Walt Lake City? And he was like, I have to do some more before we start calling me that.
Yeah, right. But it was, all the guys were very nice.
Yes.
I think it's a good group of guys, and sounds like everything is going swimmingly.
Yep.
So I think they're excited about them. All right, take a break?
Yes.
We'll take a break. When we come back, we will get to your mailbag. Lots of mailbag questions. Stick around. More Jazz Notes coming up next. Welcome back to the Jazz Notes podcast. Ben Anderson, Chandler Holt. All right, as always, we like to kick off the second half of the show with our mailbag, and fans are excited right now.
Yes.
We got a ton of questions, including on Blue Sky. It's been a couple of weeks, I feel like, since we got a Blue Sky question.
I think like 30 total questions.
Yeah, we got tons, so we'll get through these. Find us on Twitter or Blue Sky, Ben's Hoops, and C Holt Sports. Let's start burning.
Yes.
Jake, the link, says, is it safe to buy an Ace Bailey jersey? Do you think he'll be on the roster in 3 years? I wouldn't guarantee anyone's on the roster in 3 years, but yes, I would buy an Ace Bailey jersey.
Yes.
Like if I'm going to buy a jersey for someone the Jazz are going to give a lot of runway to, Ace Bailey would be the name.
It would be Ace Bailey, absolutely.
There's a ton of equity built up into him. When you burn a season and then you get a new president of basketball operations and he makes that pick, he's going to want to see that guy pan out.
Yeah.
And Ace is 18 years old. Like he's legitimately 18. He's going to need 3 or 4 years of seasoning before you know what you have. And I don't think you want to give up on him before that unless there's, disasters off the court. And again, all the intel is that he's great.
And something I want to add is the new CBA is very team friendly regarding drafted players. Like after Ace's rookie contract, especially if he makes like an all-star team or has some sort of accolade, like the Jazz will be able to offer him so much more money than anyone else could.
Agreed. Yeah. I would say yes. It's probably safe. Now, I'm not going to give you your money back if he ends up traded. Let everyone know that. But yeah, that's if you were going to buy a jersey right now, go get that white Ace Bailey jersey when it comes out. That'll look pretty clean. I'm expecting to see a lot of Ace Bailey jerseys. I think that is going to be the number one seller in Utah for a while.
Yeah.
All right, Jake the Lynx that was the one we just read. Bruno. Is Nurkic expected to take the floor for the Jazz? If so, how can the org explain his presence will enhance the development of the young players given his habits, temperament, and declining production in the past 4 years? He is going to be on the roster, I believe, to start the season, barring a trade that we're not expecting, but I do think he's going to be on the roster. He does just fill backup minutes.
Yes.
And if he doesn't play, he doesn't play.
Yeah. Like I said, I would expect him to be like a Drew Eubanks and like skill, temperament, all that stuff aside, like Kyle Filipowski came in and he was like too small to be a center.
Yeah.
And it's like there's something there when you have an NBA sized like center who has a body. Yeah, exactly.
Yep. Who just like day in and day out can do the thing.
Yeah.
And this might be the last year of Nurkic's career, or maybe he starts signing minimums after this, but he's not signing big contracts. Or you play him and he looks okay and you find a way to unload his $19 million. But, and if his temperament's a problem, you just send him home.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? It's pretty low cost. And I do think the Jazz picked the lesser of some evils that were probably out there. And this was the one that made the most sense and actually provided some balance to the roster of having a backup for Walker. But I don't think Nurkic is going to play a lot. And you know what? Walker banging against a big guy for a while and having to get tougher, which apparently Walker has put on even more weight.
Wow. Okay.
Apparently he's gotten even stronger and bigger. So apparently Walker's looking like a real man. So some good intel there, good signs there. But yeah, go play against Nurkic. Nurkic is annoying and really knows how to play. So knows how to play. Not saying he's a good player, but I'm saying he knows how to play. He's been around the league long enough that probably teach Walker some tricks. Mac Basketball, Blue Sky. What do you see our opening night roster looking like versus after the All-Star break? I have no idea after the All-Star break. Yeah. I bet you it's more similar after the All-Star break this year, though, than it was in years past.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Because, last year we talked about, the Jazz made all their trades before the season by not signing anyone. They still traded a lot of guys, right? They still made moves at the deadline. I think there's going to be even fewer because I don't think John Collins is going to be here.
Yeah.
Collin's gone. Jordan Clarkson is gone as of 20 minutes ago. So, the opening night roster will be Isaiah or Keontae, Bryce, Ace, Lowry,
and Walker.
Yeah. That would be my guess.
Yeah.
But yeah, probably either Isaiah or Keontae.
Uh-huh. And last year,
maybe Walt sneaks in there, but I have a hard time thinking the Jazz start Walt and Ace, their first years there, just from a political standpoint of we're not just only playing the rookies. Stay engaged, and it's worth it.
And I believe last year Jazz were top 3, top 5 in most different starting lineups. And I think it's going to be similar this year. They might
they're going to toy. Yeah.
They might roll out Isaiah, Ace, Taylor Hendricks, Lowry, and Walker. There's going to be a lot of different looks.
It's hard in game to create lineups to play together unless you start them. Yeah. Because foul trouble, injuries, turnover, whatever. You just got to, if you want to test the lineup, the best time to do it is in practice or to start the game.
Yeah.
So you'll have games where Walt, Clayton, and Keontae start together, or Bryce and Isaiah start together, or Cody and Ace start together. You got to test it all out.
Yep.
Plus, just the weird thing of Taylor's just going to take a while, right? You're just going to bring Taylor back slowly. He's coming off of a gruesome injury. Just from a mental standpoint, physical standpoint, you just want to make sure he's okay. So you take it slow with him and just put him in different spots and see how he plays. Anything else on that question? All right, Cody. With the turn we saw for Collin Sexton, do you think the plan is to trade the remaining veterans? Yes.
Yeah. I think it's
even for negative value.
Yeah. And it's is it just John Collins left you would really expect of the veterans?
Yeah, that's the only one. Yeah.
So,
I don't think they're going to trade Lowry unless a big. If the right deal came along, I bet they probably would. But I don't think they're out. They wouldn't take negative value for Lowry. No. Nor should they.
No.
That would be stupid.
Yes.
Lowry's good. Lowry's going to regain his value because he's going to get a lot of opportunities this season. And they're going to really coach around him, and I think will make him look good.
Yeah.
Cody Ryan. Oh, no, I just read that one. Sorry. I'm so bad at this. Alex. Now we're at Alex's. I can see the Sexton trade making more sense if the Jazz have an agreement in place with Nurkic for a buyout. Any rumors that this is the path? I don't think so.
I don't think so.
I think he's going to be on the roster, and I think he's going to play. Jake, with another question, says, I understand the reason of opening playing time for the young guys, talking about the Collin Sexton trade, but are bad trades risky? I'm excited and hopeful about Ace, but understand there's at least some chance he could be a bust. If Ace doesn't work out and the Jazz attach assets to trade all the good players, that could be bad. Is that a valid worry? No, because the fallback is you get a high draft pick.
Yes.
Right? If this all fails, and look, Ace Bailey's not going to help you in year one. Ace Bailey's going to have moments where he's just trying to figure out how to make it through the season. He didn't make it through last season. Look at his last 12 games or whatever it was when he absolutely collapses in February and March. He ran out of gas.
Yes.
Playing too much, being asked to do too much. He's too young. He's not heavy enough. All of these things. So he's got to do all that, and he's got to do it for 82 games instead of 30 games. It's going to be a lot. Yeah. And he's got to do it with the NBA rigors of you're playing every other night. So Ace is going to be bad this year. Doesn't mean he's going to have a bad future, but I'm not expecting Ace to step in and be Donovan Mitchell
True.
year one.
And also with the Collin Sexton trade, don't get me wrong, this is an absolutely terrible way of thinking. Like, do not use this style of thinking when you're talking about your favorite team. But like with the Collin Sexton trade, you can also look at it as like plus 10% chance your first round pick doesn't go to OKC.
Yeah,
like,
exactly right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, and even the added value of like, I think Charlotte got better.
Yes.
And Charlotte probably wins 3 or 4 more games now because they have him, and that's 3 or 4 more games that the Jazz don't win that Charlotte does.
Yeah.
Remember, Jaylen Brown's first year in the NBA, 3rd overall pick. And I think he played 2 years at Cal. Let me look. Maybe he only played 1. I can pull this up really quickly. But like, Jaylen Brown was nothing his first year in the NBA.
No,
like,
yeah.
Absolutely not a player. Just 6 points a game. He played 1 year at Cal, so he was a rookie also. Or a one and done also. But Jaylen Brown's first season at Boston, 6.6 points, 2.8 rebounds, 0.8 assists, 45% from the floor, 34% from 3. Ace will do more than that.
Yeah.
And look, Jaylen Brown started 20 of those games, but he was raw.
Bad.
And then jumped up to 14 points his second season, dropped back to 13 points his third season, and you're thinking, like, this guy is a bust.
Yeah.
And then his fourth season, he jumped up to 20. Fifth season, he was at 24, and he won Finals MVP 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Like, this is a really good player, and these guys take a while.
Yeah.
And he came into the league at 20. Ace, this is his age 19 season. He'll turn 19 in season.
I think there was
take a while.
I think there's a direct correlation between cutting off the juice box fade and then him getting better.
Which I like the juice box. Yeah. He should have kept it. All right. Alex, thoughts on John Tanji, and RJ Lewis? I haven't watched much of either. We touched on Tanji a little bit. I don't think there's like a ton of upside there. I just think you're hoping for a guy who can fit. He's probably a good second round swing.
Yeah.
If he can shoot with his strength, he's got a little nastiness to his game, likes to dunk,
Yes.
wants to dunk. He's fun. He's like a fun player. But at 24, how much more are you expecting?
I think similar to Bryce, and like, mind you, Bryce was a first round pick and he came in much younger. But I think similar to Bryce, it's like the way he played in college and the way he'll be able to make it in the NBA are different, right? Like Bryce Sensabaugh came in and he was like doing 1-dribble pull-ups and like
let me
spin
dribble and get to the
jumpers
post.
and all this stuff. And it's like he changed his game and he's now a pretty elite spot up 3-point shooter.
Yeah.
I think John Tanji will have to take like a few steps back regarding like his creating and then like few steps forward regarding his shooting and defense.
His game is really simple. Let me be a really nasty defensive player and develop that identity and then hit some threes. And if you close out on threes, I can dribble twice and get to the rim.
Yeah.
That's it. It's really simple. His role in the NBA is going to be that if he makes it. And then you add little things on here and there. But that's it.
Yeah.
RJ Lewis, really explosive, really over a 40-inch vertical, I think. Like he can really leap.
Super athletic.
Doesn't shoot well. He's around the ball. He's an awesome rebounder. He's like almost 9 rebounds a game as a guard. We talked about that in kind of the pre-draft process, how much I like rebounding guards. So there's a thing there, but he doesn't shoot very well.
No.
So that's just kind of an issue. Like explosive guard who can score but doesn't shoot. Projecting how he makes it in the NBA is pretty difficult.
Yeah, it's tough.
But he'll spend all of his time with the G League and figure out if he gets better and see if he can start shooting better. And then all of a sudden, maybe he can be a little bit more like Neat Clifford, which that may not mean anything to anyone who hasn't been watching the draft, but like a guy who can just do a little bit of everything pretty well.
Yeah. 18 points in college, 7 rebounds. Like you said, good rebounder. About 34% from 3. Developmental pick. Signed as undrafted free agent.
But really good size.
Yes.
Like tall for a guard and a big-time leaper.
Yeah.
Big-time dunker. Alex, any indication whether Lowry's unhappy with the way things are shaping up? He's been on board. He loves being in Utah. He may not. I'm not saying he doesn't care about what happens on the court. He does. He's a competitor. He's going to be playing for Team Finland in the FIBA Cup this offseason. So like he wants to win, I'm sure. But I think he can also compartmentalize things and be like, you know what, my life is good. I'm making $40 million a year. Kids are in a good spot. Wife's in a good spot. We're happy. One day the winning will come, hopefully.
Yeah. And also, like you said, like I think last year, like not saying he intentionally did this or the Jazz asked him to do this or anything, but like his foot was off the gas, it felt like a little bit, right? Like he had like a down year, especially compared to a year before, 2 years ago. And I think that he's going to be unleashed this year. Like I wouldn't be surprised if he's back to like a 23 plus point per game score.
Yep. And then if he builds his value up again, the Jazz will trade him.
Yeah.
I honestly think that's probably very realistic. Alex, what's going on with these trades? Seems like Juzang won't take minutes from anyone. Why add a second Sexton if he's younger, cheaper than Nurkic? We talked a little bit about Sexton. We can talk about Juzang a little bit. It's just a numbers issue again.
Yeah.
It's like Juzang has less value to the organization than Ace Bailey and Cody Williams.
Yep.
That's it. And Taylor Hendricks even, when he steps in and plays that role.
Yeah.
So and maybe even John Tonji at this point. So Johnny Juzang was a success. Johnny Juzang is going to get signed. He's going to be in and I think he's going to get a normal NBA contract and might even get like a couple of years. Give him 3 years. Only the first year is guaranteed, but the second, third year are team options, which is exactly what the Jazz did last summer. But if I'm Denver, if I'm the Lakers, if I'm the Knicks, if I'm Milwaukee, if I'm San Antonio, like all these teams, I would absolutely try and carve out a space for him.
Yeah, and I wouldn't be surprised if it's like similar to what happened with Bruce Brown, like after the championship, like he got signed to a big contract.
Yeah.
Like I wouldn't be surprised if Johnny Juzang is like a $5 to $8 million guy.
Probably won't get to 10, but I could see him getting like the full biannual exception from somebody. He's intriguing. He's like a very poor man's Cam Johnson, that's fine. There's value there. Shauna Sewer, good name, on Blue Sky, says, a nitpicky question. Do you like the number 19 for Ace Bailey? Number 19 for the Jazz always reminds me of Raja Bell. My understanding is he had a different number and then flipped. Yeah. But he can't wear 4 because that was his number in college, and that was Adrian Dantley's number, and it's retired. But I kind of think he had a different number and then flipped it the last second, which is why it took a while to get his number out. His number came out after Walter Clayton and John Tonji.
Yeah.
So
and there's some speculation on this. I originally thought he was gonna like switch to 2 after the Sexton trade became official, but looks like it's gonna be 19.
Looks like it's gonna be 19.
Yeah.
It's a funny number. It's not like a star number, but I also realize I can't tell you most people's numbers. And there's all these things changing. Isaiah Collier's going to 8.
8. Yeah.
Because who was wearing 8 last year was Patty Mills.
Yes.
So Patty Mills is gone. Svi Mikhailiuk is changing to not 13. He was 13 last year, and he's changing his number as well. So it's like 17. I can't remember exactly what it is. I'm really bad with numbers at this point in my career. He was 19.
He
right?
was 19.
Yeah.
Yes.
So he's changing off so the Jazz can. So Ace will take 19.
Yes.
Which I think, I don't know. He kind of announced it before that. But anyways, weird numbers. And then what was Isaiah Collier last year?
13.
He was 13.
And Walt is taking that.
Walt is taking that. So, yeah, there's just a bunch of weird numbers all around. And they change so often now. That just didn't used to be the case. Unless you got traded to a team and the number wasn't available, guys just stuck with their same number. Now guys change numbers season to season on their own. Because I think Bryce Sensabaugh came in as number 8 and changed his number to 28.
Okay.
Just like weird
yes.
stuff like that.
But I think, wasn't there some situation where like Patty Mills wanted 8 from him?
He did want 8. I think he bought it.
Yeah.
I think he bought the number. All right, that's it for Blue Sky.
Yes.
Twitter questions.
Okay. Getting over to Twitter. 1 sec, let me pull this up. First question from Widow and Riley. Does Walt shine during Summer League considering he already has a lot of experience at 22?
Yes, he should.
Like, I think it'll probably be it's hard to say when you have like some of the returners like Isaiah Collier, but I would guess he'd be like a top 5 performer for the Jazz.
I would think so. Yeah, easily top 5 performer. Yes, I would think so for the Jazz. I would imagine that's the case. The hard part is just like, what's his role? Are the Jazz saying like, hey, we want you to be a point guard? Like,
true.
Yes, that's kind of what you did at Florida, but also you're like a difficult shot maker. But let's see if you can really focus on initiating and try and get Ace the ball and try and get Cody the ball and try and get all these other guys the ball to make their life easier. And then think about your scoring next because we know you can score. And this is a chance for us to really open it up and let you do whatever you want.
Yes.
As opposed to just leaning into your strengths. Like, let's be a little experimental here. I could see that. And then he might not be good because it may be fully determined on like, did Ace go to the right spot? Because if Ace didn't go to the right spot, the play's broken and you're not a natural enough point guard to be like, well, I know how to adjust this on the fly.
Yeah.
But that's also where Isaiah being on this roster is really helpful. Like, Isaiah is just going to get everybody involved. Isaiah's going to get Flip involved, to get Ace involved, to get Bryce involved. It's just like, should make everyone's life a lot easier.
Yeah. Not that it is a big story, but Svi Mikhailiuk is switching to 10 from 19. Tyler Dopp. Big deal. Would you be shocked if the Jazz didn't make any other trades this offseason?
Yes.
Yes, I would be shocked.
Yeah. And again, I think it's just John Collins.
Yes.
That's the big one.
Widow and Riley again. Do you guys foresee Ace being good defensively at the NBA level? I think he has all the tools, and I think he cares. And I think that's like 2 of the biggest boxes you need to check.
Yeah, like, good. Like, I don't think he's going to be prime Paul George.
No.
Like, I don't know if he'll buy into that level. Then again, no one thought Paul George was going to be a good defensive player, which is why he fell to 10. So, the tools are really awesome.
Yeah.
The tools are really, really special. He covers a lot of ground really quickly, like laterally. And not just on the ball. I mean, he's best as a weak side shot blocker right now. It's kind of his best skill.
Yeah.
Like, he cheats off of his guy, has the athleticism and the length to rotate over and block a shot. and that's what he does best right now is like kind of a playmaker.
Yeah.
He does jump some passing lanes. This is the same thing just because he's so long. And then on the ball, he tries. He really like gets into a stance and he bends at the waist and he gets low. He's got to figure out how to get even better at that. The weird thing is just like, you got to remember in 2 years, he's going to look like Taylor Hendricks.
Yeah.
Like that's the weird thing where all this kind of criticism of Ace's game is, I think, pretty inapplicable and off the mark because it's like, you're judging him for what he looks like at 200 pounds. And it's like, okay, yeah, his handle compared to other guys who weigh 200 pounds, which is every point guard in the NBA, is terrible. Mm-hmm. His handle when he's 230 pounds and 6'8" and might still be growing and his shoulders are huge. Okay, that's different. Yeah. That works better, right? Because then he just pushes you out of the way and has a couple of dribble moves. It's like, well, we don't know how to do that. We don't know how to stop that. So that's where some of this is hard to project. Yeah. But yeah, he'll get stronger, he'll get bigger, and just because he's 6'7" and 3/4 and probably maybe still growing.
I was going to say.
And has great length and is pretty athletic, he will have value as a defensive player because big guys have value as a defensive player. Like even John Collins, who's not a great defensive player, like has some value, even as a shot blocker.
From Film Jackson, was anyone besides Golden State and Miami interested in Walter Clayton?
Yeah, sure.
I would imagine.
I think everyone after where the Jazz drafted were probably right in his range. Again, I'm surprised he went in front of Kasparas Giacochonis.
Yes.
I'm excited. Miami and Kasparas will make their debut at the California Classic, which is the Golden State Warriors Summer League. I think Sacramento's hosted it before, but it's being hosted at Chase Center in Golden State. He will actually play earlier in the day on Saturday, and I'm going to tune into that because I really want to see. I think he's playing Dylan Harper in his first game. I could be wrong, but I want to see how he plays. I liked Kasparas quite a bit. But no, I think Walter Clayton had a ton of interest. He canceled all of his workouts after he worked out for Miami. So the Jazz didn't work him out because he went to Miami. I think it might have even been a second. I could be wrong on that. But he canceled all of his workouts after that because he was sure he was going to Miami.
Yeah.
And that's why the Jazz traded up to get him.
I would imagine, like, again, no reporting here, but just like based on who they took and fit, I would imagine the Magic at 25 were interested in him. They took Jace Richardson.
Yeah, you need shooting. Yeah. Everyone needs shooting.
Yeah. Even the Nets, 26, 27, but yeah. Next up, from Widow and Riley. You are Ryan Smith. It's pretty cool. You have been praising about Utah.
I own the team.
Yeah. You've been praising about Utah to the national media. That being said, what are the cool places / restaurants you show the rookies to convince them that Utah is indeed that place?
Well, they do all go to dinner, and they try and show them around. And one of the things Walt Clayton said when he get off the plane was like, give me the food spots.
Yeah.
They have their food spots.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And I would honestly be lying if I told you I knew like where they all go to eat and what their preference is. And a lot of them just go to the team facility and eat, and they've got the chef who's a good chef and can make them whatever they want, and it's also healthy. But one of the things I've been told specifically about the downtown development that's going to happen around Delta Center and all the things they're trying to do, and we know the building's under construction, but what they're trying to do on First South and what they're trying to do, blowing the hole out of the convention center.
Yeah.
Like literally that's part of it, is like we want to give these guys a place to go downtown that is close to where they work, and they can leave the arena or they're just familiar with the area. And so when they are there in the middle of the day or whatever, there's like places to go hang out and places to go eat and I don't know, clubs or whatever, you know what I mean? Like places that are safe for them to go to, you know what I mean? But like they wanted there to be something, if you're a 19-year-old or 21-year-old millionaire and you want a place to go, to have options for you to go.
Yes.
And that was part of redeveloping downtown Salt Lake City. As much as, yes, you want to have it fun for the fans and a place to hang out before and after the game, you also want the players to feel like, hey, this is an environment that actually is inviting for 20-year-olds and 21-year-olds, not just families with 50-year-old fathers and 18-year-old kids.
Yeah.
It's about the 18-year-old kids that play for the team too.
Yeah.
So I think that's part of it.
All right, next from Simeon Brown. Have you heard anything about the futures of KJ Martin, Johnny Juzang, and Svi? Surely only one will stay, and I'm going to go with KJ as he has a skill set the Jazz need in defense. We already know about Juzang, but what about Svi and KJ?
I don't expect KJ back.
Okay.
I just think with the Jazz going young and him having an $8 million salary, I just think you want to have flexibility financially right now more than anything. I think financial flexibility is key for teams. Austin Ainge even said in his opening press conference, like expiring contracts are not worth as much as free agent space right now.
Yeah.
So as opposed to being like, well, let's take this guy on so we can trade him, like just have his $8 million in cap space so you can just take something back. Because the hard part is if I have to trade you KJ Martin back, you better have room to take him.
True.
And if that's all I'm doing it for, like this human trade exception thing may have disappeared early. It may have been a brief failed idea by some teams with the new CBA and then just realized, oh no, you can't take $8 million back.
Yeah.
You need to unload all of this cash that you're trying to send me without any money getting back to get fully under the apron. So no, you waive KJ. His $8 million is better than having something to send back.
Yes.
That's what Brooklyn's done. You know, Brooklyn can take on all these guys right now, a la Terrence Mann and a first-round draft pick in the Kristaps Porzingis trade just because they have all this cap space.
Yeah.
So the Jazz are probably going to position themselves to be lean financially to be able to make more moves like that, even in the middle of the season.
Yes. And like, as you see with like Collin Sexton going to the Hornets, another team we're expected to be lower in the Eastern Conference, and then what the Celtics are doing, like, it's not about swapping contracts, it's about getting under these aprons that are killing these teams.
Yeah.
So,
absolutely.
Utah Jazz optimist. What do you expect Nurk's role to look like? Do you think he will be flipped at the deadline if he has any value? Backup center, and if he plays up, yeah, I think they'll trade him.
And even then, like we're just saying, I think it's going to be hard to trade $19 million.
Yes.
You know, the Jazz couldn't trade $19 million of Collin Sexton, who's a good player, to a team.
Yeah.
So why would someone take a bad player at $19 million unless they're really just trying to get off of years of a contract? And we'll see. Maybe if there's the right player, the Jazz can take some years back and, you know, have him be a financial piece in there, but I kind of doubt it.
Yeah. Next up from Scott Johnson. The stars of the Utah Jazz, the mailman and Stockton at their peak when they were contending, looked like and were men. The roster today look like and are boys. Maybe a boomer take, but do they feel less relatable to anyone but me? He says, is this a thing? Or has it just been so long since they were really good that I was younger than the stars then and I'm older than them all now?
Yes, that's probably part of it.
Yeah.
Yes, it's a little bit of a boomer take.
Yeah.
Yes, they all look young.
Yeah.
The league is younger than it used to be.
And also, like, the Jazz specifically are young. They have like a top 5 youngest roster in the NBA.
Yeah. But the league is young.
Yeah.
The league has more young players. There's a lot of guys who come in at 19 and, you know, I can count on one hand the number of 19-year-olds that ever played for the Jazz in the 90s. It's like Deshaun Stevenson, you know, who you drafted, whatever it was.
Yeah.
It's like that's not who you drafted.
Yeah.
Everyone went to, like, I did a story on the 5 biggest busts in Jazz history. And, like, I think Luther Wright was on the list. I went back and read a bunch of, like, stories from the Des News, like, that have been archived. It was like, they really going for it. They drafted a sophomore. Like he only played 2 years at Seton Hall.
Yeah.
It's like that was unheard of at the time. Very rarely did guys leave early.
And we just saw the second youngest championship team of all time. OKC.
Yeah, right.
Like average age is like what, 25, 26?
Plus guys look young.
Yeah.
But they also take care of their bodies better.
Yes.
Like, you know, fewer guys are smoking. Fewer guys are drinking all game long.
Yeah.
They eat way better. You know what I mean? And they're on TV. So guess what? They want to look better. Not just on TV, they're on social media. So like they're all pampered and like getting manicures. And I know that's not a criticism for me, but like these guys' other business is their image. Like Jordan Clarkson has a whole career as a model.
Yeah.
So he better look good, and he probably spends a lot of money to keep looking good and has people around him to help him look good. So yeah, he wants to look young. He doesn't want to look like, you know, Greg Oden.
Yeah.
Look 90 the second he got into the NBA. Like, yeah, Patrick Ewing was hideous looking.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, you're on social media now all the time. You want to make sure you look really good.
And like adding on to that, there's guys like Jared McCain, and I think there's like even you can talk at like podcasts with Paul George and stuff, like they like do full-time content creation as well.
Right.
So it's like
look good. Look the part.
Garth Gagner, next question. Does Austin Ainges, you won't see that anymore, mean that Utah's going to roster dump the rest of the vets purely for the sake of tanking like Sexton? If so, is that the right move in the short term and long term?
Yes. And yes. And yes.
Yes.
Yeah. You know?
Yeah.
Oh, maybe not long term. Like if you really wanted to go the long game and let's say, so here's how this could blow back. If Ace Bailey is like shockingly good and the NBA is just like custom fit for him, he fits perfectly next to Lauri Markkanen, perfectly next to Walker Kessler, Keontae George makes a leap and you're like, oh man, you're one good guard away from like being there and Isaiah Collier's not there, but you would really love a guy who shoots 40% from 3 and can kind of be a secondary ball handler. That's Collin Sexton.
Yeah.
That's perfect. And now you don't have him on your roster. But I think the other part the Jazz look at this with Collin is they were just not going to pay him next year.
True.
And he's going to get money because he's a good player and someone's going to pay him and the Jazz weren't going to be the team to do it. So that's why they did it. But yes, short term, develop these young guys. They've got to figure out who these guys can play. They really did. This long list log jam was awkward and then not playing guys was awkward. And I don't think fairly you could ask either Collin or Jordan Clarkson to play as rarely as they did last season.
Yeah.
Right? Those guys just never played last year. Let me pull up their games and totals. Collin Sexton played 61. He started 61 games. He played 63 total. Jordan Clarkson played 37. Like, Jordan Clarkson's 32. He's not 39 years old. And there are guys like Chris Paul who are 39 years old who played 82 games last year. Like, Jordan could have played a lot more. Collin could have played a lot more. They want to play, and rightfully so. They deserve to be able to play. And it's bad for the Jazz to have to rest them. It was bad to have them on the roster as a result. So.
Speaking of what you said, the Jazz, if I am counting correctly, have 9 guys 23 or younger. Like, odds are 3 of those guys aren't NBA players.
Yeah.
Like, 3 more are nothing more than like 7th to 10th men.
Yeah,
like,
right.
You have to figure out what you have. And like Collin Sexton, he's eating up 30 minutes a night. Like, specifically Collin Sexton.
Yeah,
that
right.
guy's not going to get off the court.
Right.
So it's just like, it remains to be seen, like, short term and I mean long term. Because one thing is, like, the Suns had to add an asset to get rid of Yusuf Nurkic, and then the Hornets just got an asset to get rid. So if like the Hornets trade Collin Sexton, maybe they get an asset back that doesn't directly affect the Jazz, but you're like, oh man, like they did it when we couldn't, you know?
Let me do a little math really quick. Okay, so Collin Sexton played 60 games last year. That was, again, they Jazz like rested him, over-rested him. He played 63 games. He played 1,800 minutes. So Jen, just like, this is all rounded.
Yeah.
If you were to divide that up into 3 different players, like his 1,800 minutes, and give them each 600 minutes, right? 600 plus 600 plus 600 gets you to 1,800. Give that to three different players. That's 7 minutes a night. That's an entire shift a night, right? Like, that's, and I shift, I mean, in between timeouts, like, right? You play either 3 segments or you play 4 segments in the game. Like, 7 minutes is an extra shift. You get to play in game for Isaiah Collier and Isaiah's already up at 8. He played more minutes than Collin, and Keontae played the most.
Yeah.
So look, Keontae played 21. I don't know how 2,100 minutes. I don't know how many more you can ask of him. Isaiah Collier played 1,800 minutes. I don't know how many more you're going to ask of him. But now, yes, Bryce Sensabaugh can get another 600 minutes. So that gets him up to 2,000. And then you can give Walt Clayton Jr. 600 minutes. That's 600 minutes that he can play. Or you can give him to Cody, or you can give him to Ace Bailey. It's just like all of these areas, you've got, 3 segments of 600 minutes you can give to guys. That's a lot.
Yeah.
7 minutes a night for an entire season is a lot of basketball.
And another thing that I kind of like about this move is we're in a positionless sort of league right now, right? And I think Collin Sexton was one of the only like position locked players on the Jazz.
Okay.
Like, you're playing him at point guard. Like, he'll do some off guard stuff.
Yeah.
Like him and Keontae when they played were sort of like a who takes the ball up kind of thing, But he's a point guard. Yeah. He's smaller. And I think like looking at the lineup, like it's really just like Walker Kessler who can only really play one position. Maybe Isaiah Collier too. But,
Isaiah.
Yeah. It's like remains to be seen short term and long term, but it makes sense.
Yep.
DJM. Prediction on the 15-man roster and who are the 2 ways. Could see more guys traded tonight, though.
I think Tanji will get the third 2-way.
Okay.
That's just kind of my guess.
Yeah.
Because the Jazz extended the restricted free agency offer to Oscar Tshiebwe.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know if Oscar's going to be on the team. He's not on the Summer League roster. He's got a little bit of an injury, I guess, he's dealing with. So, but he's not going to be on the Summer League roster, at least now. Maybe he's on the team in Vegas. But yeah, I think that'll be your 3 2-ways. I think it'll be Tanji. I could be wrong, but I think it's Tanji. It's definitely RJ Lewis, and it's definitely Elijah Harkless. The 12 guys we already mentioned, right? I already went through them earlier, including Walt Clayton Jr. and Ace Bailey. And then you have 3 more spots.
Yeah.
It's like one of Jaden Springer or Svi Mikhailuk.
What about Oscar Tshiebwe as well?
And I mentioned Oscar.
Okay.
Yeah. And he got the qualifying offer. Maybe you just sign him and he's your backup.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He's
True.
just like your third big, and you can still play him as much as you want in the G League.
Yeah.
It's possible there. Michael Potter's gone. Yeah, and then you just fill it out with like a couple of veterans. Just a couple of like random dudes who it's like, bring in, probably not a guard. You know what I mean?
Yes.
But like bring in a wing to play some minutes here and there that just like doesn't help you win games, but eats minutes when Ace Bailey's just played too much.
Yes.
It's kind of what's going to look like. I wish I had the names for you. It's just not going to be that. It's not going to be anyone exciting, and I don't even know if the Jazz get those deals done right out of the gate. Remember, they signed the big guy that we were just talking about from that they traded to the Clippers last year. Drew Eubanks. Sorry, Uncle Drew. Again, a million names.
Yes.
They signed Drew the second free agency open. I was like, what?
Okay.
I don't know if they're gonna do that this year. I don't know if there's like that guy. Again, that was the human trade exception. I don't know if we're gonna see that again.
Yes.
Maybe 4:00 today, but I don't know if we're gonna see that.
And like I think it also depends on, like, again, it hasn't happened yet, but we're assuming that there's going to be a John Collins trade. Depends on who they get back in that.
Yeah, maybe they get 2 guys back.
Yeah.
To get up to $26 million. That's very possible.
Yes. But if they are bringing in a free agent, I would imagine it'd be like a Patty Mills type of,
Yeah, exactly right.
Benjamin Smith, what surprised you most about the Collin Sexton trade yesterday? I would just say probably that the Jazz had to give an asset with him.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Denny B. Karchner. Jazz player values are confusing. Why is there such a discrepancy between fans' perception of value and actual value? Did the tanking devalue Jazz players? I would say fans, like in most cases, not trying to say that fans don't really understand what's going on, but in most cases, I would assume fans are just like looking at the on-court product. How many points you put up, what you bring to the team is your value. When in reality, like, their contract and what the teams are trying to do to get under these aprons or the assets they're swapping. Like, there's a lot more that goes into value than just what happens on the court.
Yes, there are a lot more deals, or there's a lot more to all of this than just like, do you score 17 points and shoot 40% from 3? Yeah. There's roster fit. There's future opportunities. There's whose minutes are you taking? Yeah, there are a lot. How are you going to fit with these guys? Who do you know, et cetera? There is a lot to that. Yes, you do build up the value of your own players because you watch them.
Yes.
Right? Like you see Collin night in, night out, and every teams don't see him that much. I know they watch. I know they scout. They've got scouts in cities to watch these guys specifically. But yeah, guys get labels as, well, he's played on losing teams his whole career, so he may not help you win.
Yeah.
Like, I actually think Collin can help you win. I feel the same thing about John Collins, but John Collins went from mostly losing in Atlanta to exclusively losing in Utah. Collin went from mostly or exclusively losing in Cleveland to exclusively losing in Utah. And people think, well, like, that's a losing player.
Yeah.
So he does get that reputation, and it's hard to shake. But I don't think he's a losing player.
No. Jesse. Talk me into Walt Clayton. What makes him different from other undersized March heroes, Trey Burke, Shabazz Napier, Shane Larkin, etc.?
Well, he shoots 40% from 3.
Yeah.
And it's like a legitimately insane shot maker. That's the main difference. And I mean, Trey Burke is just a horrendous shooter. Shane Larkin. Let me pull up what Shane shot. Shane is like ended up being one of the greatest overseas players. Like he's a really great overseas player. Couldn't shoot. 33% for his career in the NBA.
Yeah.
It's like it's not that complicated. It's like he's going to shoot 7 percentage points higher from 3. And if he can do a little bit of playmaking, like out of the pick and roll, he'll make it. And if he doesn't, he probably isn't going to make it.
Yeah.
But he does make those types of shots and has made them for 3 straight years. He's been a really high-level shot maker basically his entire college career.
Yeah.
So that's who he is.
For me,
Shane Larkin, by the way, 37% in college, 32% his first year, 40% his second year.
Wow. Okay.
So he's pretty prolific, 173s in his second year in college.
For Walt, I would say his swing skill, if you want to call it that, is his like game processing and playmaking, right? I think he already has the shot making. And if you look at it differently, like Cody Williams is a smart player. He was in the right place a lot of times, but he didn't have the shot making. And then we're talking about him as like one of the worst rookies ever, So it's like, that's the difference.
Moneyball.
Yeah.
Get on base, ball goes in the hole. Like that's a huge thing.
Yeah.
Keontae George is super skilled. If the ball doesn't go in higher than 39% from the floor and 34% from 3, he's not going to be in the NBA.
Yes.
It's got to go up 4 percentage points this year. It's got to make the jump. And then you're Anthony Simons if it does.
Yeah.
And Anthony Simons just traded for Drew Holiday.
Yeah.
Like that's a good trade. That's a good player. So, that is interesting to go back and be like, Anthony Simons got traded for Drew Holiday?
Yeah.
Like, Anthony Simons is better than Collin Sexton.
Yes.
But not a lot better.
No.
And they got a much better return.
From James McKinney, what is Danny Ainge's official role with the Jazz now? I thought this was kind of funny when he did an interview on the Sports Zone a couple weeks back. He's still the CEO. That's his title. And he said it means calm everybody in the organization.
Yeah. And I actually think that's true.
Yes.
Like he just gets to pick his spots better.
Yes.
And the things he wants to do and the things he doesn't want to do, which is like, I think he likes parts of the job. I don't think he wanted to be like, I'm in Switzerland now. We just did the draft. Like, that's where the Jazz are headed. Like, I think Justin Zanuck has to get on a plane and go to Switzerland for the U19, watch AJ DeBonce and all these guys play. Like, that's not fun. And Danny Ainge is in his 60s, right?
Yeah.
Like, you probably don't want to do that all the time. Yeah, you know what he wants to do? He wants to go play golf.
Yeah.
So Salt Lake Summer League's going to be here. He's going to entertain some of the old dudes in the NBA that are still hanging around. They're going to go play golf with Ryan Smith and that's probably part of his job now. And then where he still has value is knowing how the league works and having all these connections. That's his value.
Yes.
But it's a little more hands off.
Speaking of connections, From Connor Morris, do you feel there is still the perception around the NBA that you shouldn't take a phone call from Danny Ainge in trade talks, now Austin Ainge, because they'll talk you into a lopsided trade? If every NBA team had good CEO, manager, etc., would we see more or less trades?
Probably fewer.
Probably fewer, yeah.
I saw Miami fans complaining that the reason they wanted Collin Sexton, Miami fans,
Yes.
not Miami, but everyone's saying, well, yeah, Danny Ainge won't deal with Pat Riley. So that's why the deal didn't get made. He just will never deal with Pat Riley. And that was their theory. And that's been a real theory for a while,
Yes.
that Ainge will not deal with Pat. So
Yeah.
I don't know if that's accurate or not. You know, and Austin might be totally different. But
Yeah.
I know that's what Heat fans think.
All right, I think that's it.
That's all? That's all of them?
I think so.
Okay. Big mailbag. I expect it to be a big mailbag. And good questions. I know
Yes.
it's a busy time right now for the Utah Jazz, and Summer League's going to be really fun. I'm excited to record next Monday because I
Yes.
think you're going to get a taste of what Ace Bailey actually looked like, and you'll have 2 games under their belt, and they'll be getting ready for Game 3. My understanding is they want these guys to play a lot.
Yes.
Like I think the young Jazz players are going to play a lot at Summer League. I don't think they're going to get rested a lot. Now maybe, the Jazz play Charlotte on Friday in Vegas. Sunday they play Golden State. Monday they play San Antonio. Maybe let guys take Sunday off against Golden State so they can play against Dylan Harper and the Spurs. Like that's actually more fun. And the league would probably prefer that.
Yes.
So maybe you rest there, but I think they're going to play a lot. I think you're going to see a ton of Ace Bailey.
Yeah.
That's what this was all about. That's what
Ace
this whole
first
season
Dylan.
has been about.
Ace for Dillon's going to be awesome.
Which is pretty funny. We talked this whole season about the Jazz tanking and want to get one of these picks and want to get one of these guys. They got one of the guys.
They did.
It was not how anyone expected it to happen. It took crazy shenanigans during the pre-draft process for Ace to be available at 5. Jazz had to play their cards very well, but they did.
Yes.
And they got one of those guys.
Absolutely.
So we will see him make his debut on Saturday.
Yes.
We will talk about it next week on the Jazz Notes podcast. Ben's Hoops, see Holt Sports, and read us at KSLSports.com. We'll be back next week.